cloud. Okay.
All right, good evening, everybody. Today is June 17th. It's the monthly meeting of the school building committee. First item on the agenda is a permitting update, and Emily will let us know what's going on with that.
Yep. So, planning board, we had the first meeting on May 12th. We are continued to the next one on June 2nd. That went well. That is approved. Conservation Commission, first meeting was on May 18th, was continued to the next meeting on June 8th. That was also approved. Board of Health meeting was on 6/15. Those three motions passed, no issue. And then we have the select board meeting coming up on July 13th.
So basically, everything other than the select board is all set. All right, next item on the agenda would be design updates, and I'm not sure if Matt or one of your team is going to work on that.
Yeah, I can share screen. So the big thing we wanted to share is that we worked through a plumbing variance in order to reduce the plumbing fixtures in this area. And we were able to attain that. So the plumbing, the toilet rooms went from looking like this to being slightly smaller. They also include two single-use toilet rooms. By doing that, we were also able to move the custodial workshop and office over to this area, which reduced the need for a mezzanine in the boiler room, which is altogether looking like a cost savings. Any questions?
Stephanie, there was a question from John regarding the hand dryers and the paper towel holders. Has that been worked out?
Yeah, we did. We do have, I'm not certain we'll be able to get them right where they're optimal at these doors because of the clearance needed to get into these doors, but we do have three within the space, and they won't be hand dryers. They'll be paper towel dispensers like John requested.
Okay, John, does that sound like it's going to work for you? Oh,
Yes.
great, thank you.
And while we're focusing on that part of the building, we had requested that the copy mail room by the superintendent's office have a separate entrance, not from the superintendent's office. So people using the machines don't have to cut through that office. They can access it from the hall.
Yeah, we had looked at that. We're a little tight on space, and also the use of this space when adding another door will make it less usable. So we hadn't added that. We have a display screen right here for all of the school's activities and such. We can do another look at it if there's some way to make it work. Right now you have a copy machine in this corner, and then you have I should probably zoom in, but you have a counter that full length. So
Yeah, I think if you took the door out of the side there and moved that full length corner to cabinet counter to the far wall.
so you
It
don't
would
need the door access at all from the
exactly,
paper.
yeah.
Okay. I
Yeah, they
think that was our
specifically, yeah, they specifically asked to remove that door and relocate it to the hallway.
I think that was our misunderstanding. So we can circle back on that.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Bob. All right, next item on the agenda would be a MSB update.
Yep. So we held a meeting with the MSBA to review the design status on June 8th. The major action item out of that was the requirement to resubmit the DESI submittal. So TAPE has that all queued up. We just need to confirm with the school that there will be no more square footage changes. So that meeting went well.
All right, next item would be the VE logs. So on this, what we asked to be proactive was to create a list of value engineering items, which is meaning, ways to cut the cost, just in case we need to, because it's easier to talk about it ahead of time versus when we really need to do it. And we had a really good meeting on that, and Emily can, or actually, I'm not sure who's going to present it, but if you guys could walk through that VE option.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
hand it over to Chelsea. Go ahead, Chelsea.
Yeah, I am not a Zoom expert. There it is. I found the share button. Okay, let's see if I can do this. Hang on one sec. I gotta get the right screen up. And once that's going, could somebody let me know if this is zoomed in enough? Because it is a big
You
file.
blow
So
it
I'm
up a little
happy-
more.
Yep. Is that okay?
Yeah, I don't know if you can go. Can you go full screen? Or is that might be me going full screen? Hold on, let me see if it's me. Oh, that's better. I went full screen. Okay, I can see
Okay.
that.
Awesome. Okay, so as Rich kind of mentioned a moment ago, a smaller group of us have walked through this. I'm going to go line by line and kind of talk through the ideas that we had pulled together. High level, when looking at this spreadsheet, really what we're calling out here is this column is the cost associated, whether it's a savings or an add, which we'll talk a little bit more about when we get to the bottom of this. This column is some of the items that we discussed. Rich had indicated that he would like to categorize those as accepted. So I think that's part of the discussion for today, Rich, is to make sure that everybody's kind of on the same page with that direction.
Correct.
Same thing is true for any items that we feel like are possibilities maybe for the future if it's something that we need to look into, depending on where the budget's at and if value engineering is still something we need to address. And then rejected are any of the items that the team felt were not viable options for the project, but everything's in here. So we'll walk through those and the team can kind of see where things landed in those conversations and if we feel like we need to change anything. This first section here, items 1A through 4A, those are actually all items that have been updated in the design. So those cost savings are things that we anticipate seeing as part of the 60% estimate that we'll be doing soon. So the variance approval for the reduction in the plumbing fixtures, we have a cost savings associated with that. It was a discussion at design development for the team to review whether or not the car EV panel could be actually, for the EV chargers in the parking lot, could be located closer to the building to save some money. So TAPE was able to make some adjustments in the design and we found some cost savings associated with that change. Removing liquid applied insulative coating for the future classroom. That was actually part of the design update. So we pulled that from the budget with a cost savings of $50,000. And the relocation of rooms 145A and 146 and the removal of the catwalk in the boiler room associated, I think, with the reduction of those plumbing fixtures, right, Rich? That was kind of a second piece of that. So
Yes.
there's some cost savings associated with that change. So as of today, what we understand with these design updates, we're roughly seeing about $165,000, almost $166,000 in savings to where we were at design development. Does that make sense to everybody so far? Keep going. Okay. The remainder of this list are either value engineering ideas, or they are some of the add alternate scope items that we carried with the pricing at DD. So we'll see a couple of those down at the bottom. So starting right at the top, one of the things that we had looked at during DD was the design of stair number 6. It was coming in at kind of a higher value from numbers that we were discussing with subcontractors. So in our estimate at DD, we had carried around 100K in total for this stair. And as we were looking back at it, we think based on some of the design updates that TAPE will do in 60% and on, we feel like there's probably some cost savings that we'll see just naturally as part of the design progression. So we're not necessarily saying that this item is exactly $20,000 in savings. We're hoping that, based on a typical stair construction, the 100K seems a little high, so we'll probably see some reduction that naturally happens as part of the design evolution. For item number 2, we had made a suggestion to substitute a display case, an aluminum frame display case for a custom wood display case. It's really not a huge cost savings. One of the comments that we had received from Rich was to see a cut sheet. We're still working on that, so we've left this one open. I think we're going to keep working through that and figuring out what the best thing to offer there.
Kelsey, and that would be for at the main entry that's with the trophies and things from the school, correct?
Correct. Yeah, it's like that long display case area. And if anybody wants to see any of these, I can pull up drawings quickly. I've got the drawings listed in here. I just didn't want to toggle back and forth on every single one. So if anybody would like to see anything, just let me know. I can certainly jump in.
There's 2 sets. There's one set that's getting relocated, which is in front of the gym, and then the set that we're talking about are the new ones inside the new middle school addition.
Thanks, Matt.
Next item was to provide wood windowsills in lieu of a solid surface material. I did confirm, Rich, that this was a solid wood that we were recommending as an alternative. So there is a potential cost savings of roughly 77,000 on that, which we've listed as something that the team would like to move forward with.
On that, Chelsea, I'd like to know what wood it is, because if it's pine, that's not really acceptable. If it's poplar, that's acceptable, or maple.
Sure. Yeah, I can double check. Next item was to reduce the exterior composite deck terrace. This is a system, I believe, that is already existing at another facility up in the same area. So it matches the terrace seating that is in the same location. All we're recommending here is that if there's a possibility for reduction in the number of seating areas, we could see about $100,000 if we reduce that seating by 50%. Sounds like team was on board to do that, so currently listed as an accepted VE item. Another thing that we threw out as a potential idea is to simplify some line striping arrows and area designations along the kind of parking areas, drive areas, roughly a $12,000 savings there. We kind of bumped this, I think, for future conversations. It's not anything anybody felt was very important to put on the table at this point. For landscape, there is a recommendation to reduce trees and plantings by 10%, which gives us roughly $27,000 in savings. So I think the team is on board to do some work there to figure out where those landscape reductions make the most sense to utilize. Next item was to substitute manual retractable bleachers. Currently, they're a motorized system in the design right now. We have bleachers on both sides of the gym. Those section lengths are roughly 27 feet long, with a savings of 112,000. Right now, that's in the no pile. But again, all these are going to kind of remain on this list if it's something that we need to discuss in the future. The options are there. I know that this one is a no-go, but we've got it on here. There was conversation during the design development kind of cost estimate review about whether the secondary feeders for the transformer and the generator could move closer to the building, since they were kind of on the longer end of those runs. And TAPE and Fontaine discussed this kind of on the side, and it was determined that it made sense to not prioritize moving those closer to the middle school entrance. So while there's no value here for right now, we're not moving forward with reviewing this option any further. There was an idea shared for replacing the linear wood look ceilings with just a typical ACT ceiling. Matt, can you remind me some of the locations that this occurs? I think there's like some corridor locations, but there's probably some specialty spaces.
Yeah, it's basically in the corridors at some of the breakout spaces and one of the
Yeah.
intersection points in the middle school.
So currently in the deferred column for future conversation, if we need to look at that. There's a couple items on here. I can kind of touch on both of these at the same time. This media center circulation desk and the art tables in the art rooms. There was a thought thrown out there if it was helpful to kind of shift money in buckets, we could look at that. But it was determined that, for now, that's not something that I think the project really finds beneficial. So those are currently in the deferred column for now. There are 3 STC 47 rated doors at some classroom connectors. Matt, Rich, to make sure I followed the conversation correctly when we talked about this, we were saying that these either need to be STC rated or the doors themselves are completely removed, right? There's no more connectors between those rooms. Did I understand that correctly?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Because I know those are existing rooms and I knew that there were things you were trying to hit with STC. So this item, essentially what we've captured in the estimate was that we were carrying the STC rating for those 3 doors that are connectors between a few classrooms. The deduction here of $10,000 would capture removing those doors entirely and just having solid walls. So for now, I know that one also is a deferred option, but it's still on the list if it's something we need to talk about in the future. There was a suggestion to remove the sound systems in the band and chorus rooms with the cost savings of $25K, carrying that in the deferred column in case future conversations arise. Next item is to simplify the science prep room casework. So I've got a different one in my head. Matt, do you recall exactly I know we talked about this high level the other day, what we could do to simplify? I know this is kind of a generic line the way it is.
It was basically trying to take out some of the like the middle school prep room. There's, I think, 6 or 7 large general storage cabinets. I'm trying to reduce some of them and either putting it in just countertops or maybe some just wall cabinets above it.
Okay. So similar to the one underneath where you've got 40 cabinets within the classrooms, essentially removing one general storage classroom from each room would end up in a cost savings of roughly $35K. So between those two, there's some work that we could do to look at the casework and save some money there.
Chelsea, could I just jump in? So
Sure.
on the simplify in the prep room casework, we did talk to I think one of the science teachers was on, and I know Bob was on. They seemed to be okay. I think Patrick was on also. They seemed to be okay with taking that cabinet out of each one. In the general storage in each classroom, that one we deferred because that, they said there's never enough storage, so that's something we put off to the side, for later on if need be.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. Next item is to remove the media center nano wall. I think we're essentially deferring this. What we broke out here is the cost for the wall itself is this 70,000, and the 30,000 is roughly the supports structurally for that wall.
Right. So on that one, what we decided was, and what Jeff said is that there's enough time to let the budget go through and we'll put the framing in for it, and we'll know, with enough time to order the door if we can afford it. That's why we put that on the deferred list. So that gives us an opportunity later on to pull it if we have to.
Next item would be to reduce vinyl wall graphics, roughly a percentage of 25. For now, that's deferred, but an option. Reduce new student lockers by 25%. We've said, I think, no to this. I think there was, my understanding, lots of back and forth, Rich, on kind of the number of lockers that would be necessary for the design. So I think that's kind of where we're at with this one. Next item is to eliminate the batting cage in the gym. It would save 15,000. Right now it's maybe a discussion for later, but in the deferred list. There is a sink currently in a little workroom off of the media center space. And so the note here is we had carried $990 for the sink itself, but this total is really for all the infrastructure associated with that sink removal. So I think that's in the accepted column, Rich, as of right now.
Yeah,
they don't need it.
the school said that they basically, it was there, but they didn't necessarily, haven't used it for quite a while. And so getting rid of it wouldn't be a big issue.
Yep. Okay. Next item is to eliminate new food service serving line counters existing to remain. We're listing that in the deferred column. I think there was some discussion about whether or not code was going to kind of kick us in that direction. So something we'll kind of keep on the list and see what the options are there. Next item is to remove the lightning protection system, also currently deferring that. I think that there's probably some discussions that need to occur with the town, specifically the electrical inspector and the town insurer, to see if that would even be a viable option.
And actually, can I follow up, Emily?
Yeah.
On that one, since they're asking the town, I would imagine TAPE would take care of the question to the electrical inspector, but could you reach out to the town administrator and see if that's a requirement that we need to have?
Yes, we'll do that.
All right, the next three options came from the design engineers as possible options. I think what I understand in recent conversations with this group is generator size is not really something that we're in a position to make changes to right now. So those have been rejected. And then this one, I think for HVAC, kind of the mechanical engineer had made some recommendations around looking at the hot water units. And I think, Rich, your question was really trying to understand exactly what was designed to what this value engineering option would give the team. So I think there's some work to do here behind the scenes to understand really what the intent is with this.
Correct.
Option.
What are we giving up is the question.
Exactly. Yeah. Next item is to remove the vape detectors at the high school toilet rooms. Not a huge savings here, so we've put it in rejected for the time being. Acid neutralization tank. Currently, this was being captured as an alternate, as you can see listed here in the DD estimate. We're not quite sure where this is going to land with the variance process. So I think, Rich, in our discussions, we're probably going to need to absorb this as part of the base bid. And this was the value of 133,000 that we're carrying in here. So now we're kind of shifting from some of the VE items to some of the ad alternates that were in the last estimate.
Correct. We need to carry that because if we have it in the budget, then we can always take it out, but we don't want to have to add it later.
Sure. Yep. Next item is something I know we've talked about previously, demo of the full VCT floor, and installation of VQT versus kind of the patchwork, I think that was in the base scope. So we had carried in the base for that patchwork option, we had carried roughly $176,000. So this 247,000 is kind of the balance to get the design to the full VQT replacement. So essentially, the one unknown with this is just we haven't done the probes for moisture mitigation requirements. Those are scheduled, I believe, actually for next week. So we're coming up on understanding what the need is going to be at the slab. So we have kind of some notes over here regarding, what the cost per square foot would be for moisture mitigation, but we're really not sure exactly where that's going to be necessary. So I don't feel comfortable making a guess at that number until we have a little more information. Another alternate from design development was a Blue Phone emergency tower. I think one of the notes I had put in here was there might be some other cost-effective options. Jeff with Vertex had noted that last time we spoke, carries a value of $57,000. So for now, we're deferring that for future conversations. This one we have not actually gotten to yet, but it's on here because we know it's coming. So with the 60% documents, I was told when I put this in here that it may not be double the size, but we are increasing the size of the maintenance shed. So we're not sure what that is going to add to the cost that we had currently carried. So it's something that we will jump right into when we have the new documents.
And also with that, also Matt had noted that because we actually have to heat it, it also is going to have to be insulated, which initially wasn't picked up. So it's increasing the size of the shed so it fits the equipment and insulating it also.
The next few are items that we had previously discussed. Well, actually, we have discussed this, but Rich also marked these up in the VE log that he had seen originally from Fontaine and let us know that these are probably items not worth discussing further. So we'll just run through these really quick. One was to remove the attack-resistant glazing film from the level 1 windows. I believe this is a police department requirement, right, Rich? So we weren't really looking to make any adjustments to that scope. Remove ACT from cafeteria and replace with painted exposed ceilings. This was also not something that the team was interested in exploring further. Modular retaining wall in lieu of a cast-in-place system, also not something the team wanted to spend any time looking at. And a reduction of 25% of the vertical granite curb to a bituminous curbing. It's always a sensitive one. I think there's a lot that happens with plows and those get beat up really quickly. So we've put this in the rejected column for now. And then the next was an idea, but that maintaining the existing water line loop around the building is, from what I understand, not an acceptable design option to move forward with. So we've also put that one in the rejected column. So we have totaled essentially all of the items that are listed in the accepted column have given us a total of $244 roughly $1,000. If you add up the items that have already been incorporated that were at the top, the 1A through 4A, and this $243,000, it gives us a total savings to date of $409,000.
All right, great. Well, thank you.
Mhm.
And you guys will keep on looking for things as we go through the drawings, I assume.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right, well, thank you. Let's see here. Next item would be the pre-qualification committee. If Emily wants, or whoever's going to be in charge of that, want to run
Yeah.
through that.
I'm gonna hand that one over to Lorraine.
Hi, all. Yep, I'll be the one running the pre-qualification process. And for those who are not aware of what pre-qualification is, under the Mass General laws, all public buildings at a certain threshold have a two-part bidding process. And pre-qualification is the first step. So here we would be putting out an RFQ for qualifications from interested filed subcontractors. And there's about 18 particular categories that the Mass General laws list. We won't be hitting all of those, but there probably will be about maybe 10, 15 of those. I'll give you an example. That's electrical, mechanical, masonry, things like that. So we'll be reviewing their statements of qualifications. Once we determine a list of pre-qualified contractors, they will be the only contractors who will be invited to bid in those categories. So we're looking for a volunteer from the awarding authority. There's usually 4 voting members on the committee, so it'll be one from the designer, one from the CM firm. It could be 2 from the awarding authority, but typically one would be from the OPM. So there would be 4 voting members. We could have some extra people on the committee if you wanted to volunteer. Happy to have more, but only 4 would be voting. We'll have 2 rounds of pre-qualification. The first one's going to start in July, run through September with about 5 meetings possibly. And then there'll be another round starting in October, which will be a little bit meatier. We'll have a little bit more work to do there. So we'll probably be more in like the 6 meeting range there. A little bit of work outside the meetings. Depends on what your appetite is for that work outside.
All right, thank you, Lorraine. And so I did talk to Jeff earlier about this process also. And one suggestion I have is that I'd like to have an extra person, at least from our side, on the committee. I'd like to have Al on there. Al does more commercial stuff than I do and probably knows a bunch of the players. And my next question was to Sarah, and I'm not sure how familiar you are with some of the players, but these are 2 people that, this is what they do.
Yep.
So I would say we'd like to have at least 2, and then maybe myself, or as also a fly in the wall. And we could debate on internally on who's the voting member, but it'll be a group decision.
Okay. So Emily, do you know if do we need a formal vote for this to establish the pre-qualification committee? I think we do. Say that again.
We need a formal vote today, or can we give them a chance to kind of think about it and debate back and forth and then?
I'm fine with waiting if you'd like, but it sounds like Rich knows who he wants.
Well, that's the 2 comments that I have. If there's other people from the committee that, like I said, these are 2 people that know much more than I do about the commercial side of it, and that makes 100% sense in my mind. I'm not sure if any of the other members of the committee have, I know Diane has worked on the projects, but I'm not sure if she is confident with the players. Like I said, I would defer my input to Sarah and Al, and I'd just be there to listen in, to hear what they had to say or check their qualifications.
Okay.
Good
So
with it.
you were good? Okay. All right. So I have no issue on, I make a motion that we appoint Al Veltor and Sarah Rosenthal and myself to the owner's side of the selection committee, and obviously somebody from Vertex will be there.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you.
Right.
All right.
So one thing that was not on the original agenda that we did want to talk about was the radon pipes. So there are 2 options. The first being the original plan of 3 passive riser vents in the new area and 4 passive riser vents in the existing. And option 2, which is what the consultant is recommending, which is the 4 passive riser vents in the new area and 10 passive riser vents in the existing, based on the square footage of the building per the AARST guidance. Tape, I don't know if you have anything else to add to that or more discussion on that.
If it's helpful, I can show a plan of each option. But otherwise, that covers it.
So basically going backwards for the rest of the group, on the Clyde Brown, we had an issue with radon and we had to retrofit it afterwards. Basically what this is an empty pipe that goes up to the roof. They put something called a candy cane on the top, which is just a pipe that's bent over with screen on the end, and it allows radon to naturally vent out through the empty pipe out to the atmosphere. And if we determine later on that there is radon present in the building, we can upgrade it. We can add a fan, which basically sucks the radon out from underneath the building, and gets it away from the, out of the building. The only bad thing about radon is you cannot test the building for radon until it's 100% complete. So when we did the Clyde Brown, it was 100% complete. They tested it. It came up on actionable levels in several of the classrooms, and then we had to go backwards and fit everything in afterwards. This gives us the opportunity to run basically the cheapest method to get rid of it. It's the same soil. So basically we're, 200 yards away from where they had radon at the Clyde Brown. It's a sandy soil. Sandy soils tend to have radon in it. And they did do some testing and they didn't find any, but right now, the existing building is very leaky and we're going to be building a building that is much tighter, which makes it so that we have a better opportunity of basically capturing the radon inside the building. So just things to think about.
So you can see the requested has the 4 locations in the building and then the 3 in the addition. So these are the existing locations, and then these would be the new. And then the recommended one has the 10 locations throughout the building, which will be taking a bit of square footage out of these spaces, and then the 4 in the addition. So we're just looking for direction on which is preferred so that we can square up chases and square footages. It's not a simple exercise at this point with the MSBA.
How big are the chases or the pipes that are needed for the radon?
They're 6 inches.
Okay. We don't have 8-inch studs. We can put them in, throw them in those walls.
We do have a few in the middle school that we're able to work with. We do have cross bracing as well.
Yeah.
A little trickier in the existing,
Mhm.
given that a lot of the walls were retained.
Yeah.
All right. Well, like I said, that in my mind, I know it's money. We're doing something proactively, knowing that it cost us $175,000 last time at the end. In my mind, that's half of the cost. To get it to the point where we have the opportunity to go ahead. Now, it does not include the wiring for the fans. And it doesn't include the fans. But a lot of the times you can just do the pipes themselves, and the passive will reduce the amount of radon, so it is not an issue, and then we don't have to do that. But like I said, we will not be able to find that out until the building is done. Al, what's your thought?
My thought is radon is a pretty nasty thing, and we're not going to have a choice if we find it at the end. I mean, the biggest cost here is going to be finding a route to run these pipes. So if we can do it earlier than later, that would be a better option in my mind. If we have to add fans, and we have to add electric, we can get all that stuff there relatively easily. But to find a route for this piping is going to be a lot more difficult when we have a finished school. So this is a no-brainer to me.
All right, thanks. Diane?
I don't want to do what we had to at Clyde Brown. This is less expensive, is it not?
Correct.
Yeah.
All right, if there's no other conversation, I make a motion that we go with the upgraded version of the radon piping. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, and let's see here. I'm gonna have to look at that. I'm gonna do this one by roll call because this is a decent amount. Al, because I can see you first.
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Sarah?
Yes.
You are? All right, and I don't think I missed it. We don't have
I'm
Robin?
here. Yeah.
Oh, hi, Robin. Okay,
Mhm.
good. All right, I think that was it. All right, so passed unanimously.
And then just for clarity, would that include the power wiring?
No,
Okay, so we're not going to include that for now. And if it's
No.
needed, we'll add that later.
correct.
Okay.
We're going to defer that and we'll see where we are. Like Chelsea said, we'll put that in our deferred list because that's something that we can figure out where our budget's at and we can always decide if we want to run the power to it. That would be something we could do later. So we'll put that as deferred.
Perfect.
All right, next item would be next steps, upcoming meetings.
Yep, so we'll have Fontaine on site starting after school to do some exploratory work. They'll start working on the NFPA 241 plan. The project team will also bring a soil characterization proposal to the next SBC meeting in July.
And Emily, just I'm going to walk through that because Jeff walked me through it, so I understood what that is. Basically, we're going to be exporting material offsite. In order to do that, the bidders will want to have a test to say that the soil is not contaminated. We get better pricing if we have the test done versus going into a blind, because if they go into a blind, they're going to assume that there may be issues. So this is basically to help us on getting better pricing for the excavation work.
Yep, thank you. And then we have June 24, July 8, next working group meetings, and July 15 will be the next SBC meeting.
Okie dokie. All right, the next one, we go on to invoices. So I think, unless the Vertex gang wants to hang around for a little bit while we get through the invoices, we can run through those. And I think the design team and Fontaine are all set. Did you guys have anything you wanted to walk through while you're here? I know you've been going to be in touch with the school, or if you've already had not done so, on the work that you're going to be doing there.
Yeah, just the update. We'll be out there next week doing the scanning above ceiling and then getting the probes in for the slab readings. So we should have some information for the next meeting.
Yeah, Bob and John. So they will reach out. Griffin, who will be reaching out to Bob and John to coordinate that?
We reached out to John earlier today, gave him the contact. Steve Gelinas with us is going to be out there.
Okay. All right. And he'll copy me on all those too, just so I can see them.
Yep.
Which I did see. So just so you know, I'm saying that to be redundant. So that's great. All right, good. Yeah, it's easier to over communicate, which you guys do pretty well, than to have somebody show up to hack a hole in the wall and have something going on. So
absolutely.
Cool. All right, good. Well, thanks again.
Rich, I have a quick question before we go. So I got an email from Emily about something that the school committee needs to vote on. And I guess I just need more information on what that is to be able to explain to the rest of the committee what it is we're looking to do. It's like blocks and things like that.
This is the proprietary item list that was discussed with the working group. So it's basically getting what's kind of in the building or what's in the other buildings around town So you make sure you get that system so it works with what you have. Otherwise, it's an open bid process and you get, whatever is submitted. That's kind of what the proprietary list is, kind of what the working group and the committee kind of talked about previously that we wanted to do to make sure it meets the standard for the town and works with what you guys have already.
And I think,
So we
Robin,
need-
you were on those meetings, I think. Remember when we talked about the fog?
Right. No,
and
I
stuff like that?
understand like what they are. I guess I just need to understand like why we need to vote on this to be able to explain that to the rest of the committee.
It's an MSBA requirement.
Yeah.
Just for locks? We don't have to vote on anything else that we're talking about? Like, I guess I don't understand like why this one little item we have to vote on as a school committee, but nothing else that we're talking about at these SBC things.
Because the other items they have or equal, whereas these items that we're choosing a specific brand or a specific type. That's what makes them the proprietary. So we
Okay.
want to match everything else that school already has.
Okay.
Robin, yeah, basically it's if you want to have, Schlage locks, and because we have Schlage locks everywhere else, the MFBA doesn't want a rigged bid. So what they make you do is they make you vote on it and say, yes, we want the Schlage locks because we have Schlage locks everywhere else. And that's the reason why, not because your uncle owns Schlage locks. That's the reason why.
Okay. Understand. So we have our next meeting on the 23rd, so I can do that then.
Great.
And we can add that to the agenda, Robin.
Yeah.
All right, good. Well, thank you for doing that. All right, I think so. I think we're good with the Fontaine gang and the Tape gang. So we're going to pay some bills.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks
Good
all.
night.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Okay, so I just put up the Vertex invoice for 35,000.
All right, I make a motion that we approve the Vertex OPM invoice for the month of May for the amount of $35,000.
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
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 All right, great. Motion passed unanimously. Next item would be the bill from Tape for professional services for the month of May. And that would be for the amount of $358,947.22. And that also included $18,000 of a consultant fee for geotechnical, where they had reviewed the cores that they had drilled out in the school. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
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 All right, motion passed unanimously. All right, this is the planning board. The planning board did a review of the project, just like every other project in town, because we don't want to show any favoritism. So the planning board has a paid consultant which works on behalf of the planning board. And they review the plans and make any suggestions. That was done, and the cost of that review for this portion was $5,835.47. I make a motion that we approve that amount for data for the month of May.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
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 All right, great.
Aye.
All right, motion passed unanimously. This is the bill for the solar panel. So on the existing school, right now, the way that the solar panels were set up, they are too close to the edge of the building, which would require the town to have to put a basically guardrail up, which would cost us thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. So John, along with the energy manager, and Bob all got together and decided the best way to go about it would be to just remove the panels that were too close. That way we don't have to build the guardrail. The cost of, and Kim, if you could scroll back down, just so I can see what it is. This is the termination fee. So the way that it works is we have to pay to remove the panels, and then we have to pay the termination fee because we had said to that company that we could keep the panels on the roof for 10 years. I'm not sure exactly how long it is, and we're asking to have those panels taken down earlier, which means that they wouldn't earn the money that they had expected to on those panels because we're taking them down. And the termination fee, which had been negotiated ahead of time, is the amount of $5,736.56. I make a motion to approve that invoice.
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
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 All right, great. And was there one more,
One
Kim?
more. Yep, one more. Fontaine. Yep.
All right, and so this is the bill from Fontaine, the general contractor, for the amount of $30,858.00 for work in the month of May. And I make a motion that we pay that amount.
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
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 All right, motion passed unanimously. Thank you.
And then we just have minutes from May 20th to approve.
Yep. So I make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes of May 20th as written.
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm abstaining because I wasn't there.
Okay, that's good. All right.
Oh, is that the one? Probably
and
should
I'm
have
an
upstayed
aye.
too.
That was the recorder concert.
Oh yeah, you guys
That-
both missed it.
That's right. Yeah, we were there.
We have
That's right.
two. So we have two. Is that
Oh,
enough,
yeah.
Kim?
No, that's not, we don't have a quorum to approve them, so.
Okay, we'll have to move those on to the next meeting. We'll just get that.
Yeah,
on.
Jen
Oh,
used
well,
to say
Robin's
we
here.
read them,
Oh,
it doesn't-
Robin can't vote on that.
Why can't I vote on them?
Yeah, why can't Robin vote on it?
No, she
I
can,
was-
but we,
I didn't have a recorder concert that night.
yeah, but we need 4, right?
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
So you can vote, but we just don't have a quorum.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
I understood that if you hadn't attended, you still could vote on the
And I,
minute.
yeah,
As long as you read the minutes.
Right.
And
right.
Oh, so then I can vote.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
well,
can
we'll
vote
just-
on them.
you know
I
what?
read
We'll
them,
just
but
be-
I can't verify if they're correct.
Yeah, we'll wait till the next meeting, and we'll just vote on the next meeting. We'll defer that to the next meeting. So,
Yep.
all right, great. Well, thank you, everybody, and congratulations to the school team that you're off for the summer. So, I thought you guys would look happier, Patrick. Come on.
Yeah, we're just tired. Tomorrow we're gonna have the celebration.
Are we all invited?
Of course.
All right, sounds great. All right, thanks, everybody. Good night. Oh, I make a
Thank
motion to
you.
adjourn.
Yep.
Second.
All right, thank you.
Good night.
I
Good
know.
night.
Good night.
Right.